Welcome to Deep Dive. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. Let's dive in and grow together.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at Brianna Wiest's book, The Mountain is You.
Yeah. The mountain is you.
And we're really going to be taking a look at this idea of self-sabotage. And this idea that self-sabotage is not the enemy.
Right.
It's actually something that's like a signal flare.
Yeah. It's trying to tell us something.
It's trying to tell us something, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mission of our deep dive today, is to figure out what that signal flare is. What is it trying to tell us?
Yeah. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about her approach and in the book is that, a lot of times we think about self-sabotage as like laziness or procrastination.
Right.
Or, just a lack of motivation.
Right.
But she really frames it as like fear.
Okay.
And like this need for comfort and security.
Okay.
And so it's not really that we're not capable,
Right.
it's that we're afraid.
Oh, so it's like we get this great idea, we're all excited about it, and then we're like, oh, I should reorganize all my kitchen drawers.
Right. Or, suddenly that email that you've been putting off seems really important.
Yes.
Like anything to avoid doing the thing that's actually going to move you forward.
Okay.
And, she compares it to like a hiker on a mountain.
Okay.
You get to a certain point and you see that it's really steep.
Okay.
And you kind of freeze up and you're
Right.
like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
And so, our brains are kind of wired to avoid threats and to seek pleasure.
Right.
And so even when we consciously want to move forward, that potential for failure or judgment or even just discomfort
Right.
can be enough to trigger that fear response in our brain.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So then what happens when we do push through that fear and we achieve something great,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, but now there's this wave of anxiety. What's that about?
Yeah, well, that's what Brianna Wiest calls the upper limit problem.
Oh.
And essentially, it's this idea that we all have this internal thermostat for how much success or happiness or love
Right.
we believe we deserve.
Okay.
And so when we exceed that limit,
Okay.
it can feel really uncomfortable.
Like, oh, I'm not used to this.
Right. It's like unfamiliar territory.
I
And
know
it,
that.
and it can even feel kind of dangerous.
Right.
She compares it to acclimating to higher altitudes.
Okay.
Like when you go up into the mountains,
Okay.
it takes a while for your body to adjust.
Right.
And it can be uncomfortable even though you're breathing in fresh air.
Interesting.
Yeah. So similarly, when we reach new heights in our lives,
Okay.
that discomfort,
Right.
that anxiety, that self-doubt
Yeah.
might actually be a sign that we're growing and expanding our capacity for good things.
So how do we deal with that? How do we embrace those growing pains and see these inner mountains not as obstacles, but as opportunities?
Right. Well, that's where her idea of your mountain is your purpose comes in.
Okay.
And she suggests that our struggles are not random. They're actually intricately connected to our personal growth. The challenges that we face, whether it's fear of public speaking
Yeah.
or a tendency to overthink,
Right.
those are often highlighting the areas where we need to develop our strength and our resilience and our self-awareness.
Okay, so it's like instead of seeing these things as things we should avoid, we should be leaning into them.
Right. It's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting because if you think about it, it's becoming increasingly relevant in today's world.
Really?
There's so much more conversation now about mental health and self-care.
Right.
We have things like, Simone Biles prioritizing her well-being during the Olympics.
Right.
And, the rise of mindfulness apps like Calm
Yes.
that are helping millions of people face their anxieties.
Absolutely.
It's like we're collectively recognizing that these inner mountains
Yeah.
are a part of the human experience.
And it's not a sign of weakness to struggle with these things.
Right. It's actually a sign of courage to face them.
Right. So for all of you listening right now, what is your mountain?
Yeah.
What is that internal challenge that keeps cropping up for you?
Yeah. Is it fear of failure?
Is it perfectionism?
Is it holding on to outdated beliefs that no longer serve you?
Exactly.
Whatever it is, just remember you're not alone in this.
Right.
Everyone has their own mountain to climb.
I love that.
And the key is to see it not as a dead end, but as a pathway
Yes.
to becoming, a stronger,
Right.
a wiser,
Yeah.
a more authentic version of yourself.
Wow. This has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
Yeah.
It's really changed how I think about my own struggles.
Me too.
They're not just obstacles to overcome, but they're stepping stones
Right.
to, personal growth and fulfillment.
Exactly. And so next time you're feeling stuck
Yeah.
at the foot of your own mountain,
Yeah.
Remember what we talked about today?
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Gather your courage and start climbing.
Right.
The view from the top is worth the effort.
I love it.
But even more importantly, the journey itself is what will transform you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. But even more importantly, the journey itself is what will transform you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.